The cargo bay of the Zenith Dawn fell silent as the reinforced containment cell groaned under impossible pressure. Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless, her tablet forgotten in her hand, as hairline fractures spread across the tombing aluminum like spiderwebs across a mirror. The other researchers had already fled. She could hear their panicked footsteps echoing through the corridor, the emergency klaxons wailing their mechanical warnings. But Sarah remained, her brown eyes fixed on the creature inside, the apex predator from Kragath Prime, a world where evolution had crafted nothing but hunters and prey. The Kragathi were legends in this sector of space, 8 feet of corded muscle and obsidian scales, with 6 eyes that could track prey across 3 spectrums of light simultaneously. Their claws could slice through starship hull plating. Their reflexes operated faster than most species could perceive. They had never been successfully contained, never been studied, never been anything but feared, until the Zenith Dawn had captured this one. It had taken 17 modified stasis fields, 3 teams of combat specialists, and authorization from the Galactic Council itself. The creature, designation K7, had killed 4 sentients during capture. The Council had only approved the research mission because humans had volunteered to oversee it, and humans had a reputation for dangerous curiosity. Now that curiosity might kill her. The containment field failed with a sound like breaking glass. K7 exploded from the cell in a blur of motion, scattering fragments across the cargo bay. It landed in a predatory crouch 20 feet from Sarah, all 6 eyes locked onto her. Its breathing was deep and measured, the sound of a furnace drawing air. Sarah didn't run. She didn't reach for the emergency beacon on her belt. She simply stood, meeting the creature's gaze with a calmness that defied every survival instinct screaming in her brain. The Kragathi tilted its massive head, confused. Prey ran. Prey always ran. That was the first rule of the universe. Predators chased, prey fled. The dynamic was ancient, universal, written into the genetic code of every living thing. Yet this small, soft creature with its vulnerable flesh and fragile bones simply watched him. No fear scent filled the air. No trembling betrayed panic. Just stillness. K7 moved closer, each step deliberate. His claws scraped against the metal deck plates, leaving deep gouges. He could cover the distance in a heartbeat, could tear her apart before she completed a breath. Every instinct told him to strike, to eliminate the threat, to feast. But something made him hesitate. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest, but she controlled her breathing through sheer force of will. She had spent 3 years studying Kragathi behavior through long-range observation. She understood their social structures, their hunting patterns, their complex hierarchy of dominance and submission. And she understood one critical fact that the other researchers had missed. Kragathi didn't respect fear. They expected it, fed on it, used it to identify prey. But respect? That they reserved for other predators, for equals who met their gaze without flinching, who stood their ground, who demonstrated the same lethal confidence they themselves possessed. I know what you are, Sarah said softly, her voice steady. I know you're intelligent. I know the Council captured you not because they want to study you, but because they fear you. They fear what your species could become if you ever united, ever reached for the stars as more than scattered clans. K7's 6 eyes narrowed. The creature spoke basic. The captured files had confirmed it, but had refused to communicate with any of the researchers. To speak was to acknowledge equals, and he acknowledged no one aboard this vessel as such. You could kill me, Sarah continued, taking a slow, measured step forward. The creature's muscles tensed, but she didn't stop. You could paint this bay with my blood and escape. But you're trapped on a starship in deep space. Where would you go? How long before the automated defenses cut you down? Another step. She was close enough now to smell the creature's scent, something like ozone and copper and alien wilderness. Or, she said, you could listen to what I have to say, about why I requested this assignment, about what humanity knows of predators and prey, of evolution and survival, of the thing that happens when a species climbs its way up from the food chain through intelligence rather than through claws alone. K7's breathing changed, became less aggressive, more contemplative. This human was either supremely foolish or supremely confident, and foolish creatures did not speak with such calculated calm while facing their death. Sarah stopped 3 feet from the Kragathi, close enough to touch its obsidian scales if she reached out. She didn't. Instead, she met all 6 of its eyes in turn, a gesture of acknowledgement in Kragathi culture that the creature hadn't expected from a prey species. My species were predators too, she said quietly. We hunted across plains with nothing but stones and persistence. We ran our prey into exhaustion, tracked them for days, used our minds when our bodies weren't enough. We climbed to the top of our world's food chain, then looked at the stars and decided that wasn't high enough. She paused, letting the words settle. The council fears you because they see only what you are, a perfect predator. But I see what you could become, what humanity became. Not prey pretending to be civilized, but true apex predators who chose to build rather than just hunt, who turned that killer instinct toward protecting rather than simply destroying. K7 made a sound deep in his chest. Not quite a growl, not quite words. Sarah recognized it from her research. Contemplation. The sound Kragathi elders made when considering wisdom from unexpected sources. The shackles they put on you, Sarah said, gesturing to the broken containment cell. Those weren't going to hold. We both know that. I made sure of it. Six eyes widened in surprise. Because I didn't come here to cage a predator, Sarah said, her voice hardening with conviction. I came to offer an alliance to an equal. Humanity needs allies who understand what it means to be dangerous, to be feared, to choose something higher despite, or perhaps because of, that nature. The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility. Then slowly, deliberately, K7 lowered himself into a crouch, not of hunting, but of respect. A gesture reserved for Kragathi pack leaders, for those who had earned deference through strength of will rather than strength of claw. Sarah released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She extended her hand, palm down, in the human gesture of peace, then turned it palm up, offering choice, not dominance. K7's claw, carefully sheathed, touched her palm. The gesture of two predators acknowledging what they were, what they chose to be, and what they might become together. Tell me, human, K7 said, speaking basic for the first time in captivity, his voice like grinding stone. What do your people call those who hunt not for hunger, but for purpose? Sarah smiled. We call them heroes. And in that moment, as predator and human stood facing each other in mutual respect, the first bond between two apex species was forged, not through fear or subjugation, but through recognition of what both had overcome to reach for something greater than their natures demanded. The council would have questions. They always did. But Sarah Chen had just made humanity an ally that would reshape the balance of galactic power, and she'd done it the only way that mattered to a true predator, without flinching.